Zinni and Jenkins are a family of 6 going on 7 in a one-bedroom apartment that have sparked major controversy over whether it's morally acceptable to consciously bring more children into an impoverished household, as well as to exploit said children for TikTok fame. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a minute now, I'm sure you already know roughly whereabouts I stand on this whole debate, but trust me, there's a lot to talk about here. So before we get into all that, just a reminder that I'm aiming for 100,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is the 18th of November. By the way, I saw the amount of birthday twins that I had in the comments, and I think that that's wonderful. I think that's great. Big up to all my subscribers who were also born on the 18th of November, especially those who were also born in 2003, because me and you, we're the last good generation, baby. But anyway, yeah, if you want to be a part of that journey, then like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'd be great to have you along. So now we'll get on to the notorious Jenkins stuff, which, I'll be honest, at first I thought was just an opportunity for people to be unnecessarily mouthy and rude to a family who are just trying to survive. So then I looked into it a bit. I scrolled all the way down on that TikTok account and I figured out, oh my God, this family is so worthy of criticism that it's unbelievable. I wanted to see how they ended up in the situation that they're in and what they were doing to, I guess, remedy it, both publicly and privately. And golly goodness, heavens to Betsy, did the hate begin to make a lot more sense. I'll play a TikTok of theirs very quickly so that you know exactly what we're dealing with here, but there is genuinely so much to talk about here that if I ever sound a bit sporadic at points or a bit difficult to follow, then I apologize.
Welcome back, y'all. Come spend a wholesome night with the resilient Jenkins. We started off with our typical nighttime routine of making sure everything gets cleaned up. Unfortunately, the belt keeps going out on our vacuum, so we just go ahead and use the hose attachment. We got the floor swept and mopped in the bed area and got the beds back down for bedtime. And I wanted to cut out some extra time to go through both of my son's toy boxes and get rid of some stuff that they've already outgrown. Now, have you know, my son asked me if he could take over vacuuming. He said he really wanted to give it a try. While going through the toy bins, I noticed there was a bunch of newborn toys that my son had barely ever had interest in, so they were barely used.
Okay, so I've got to give some much needed context here. When this woman and her partner met, she already had 2 children and he had had 1, immediately making them a family of 5. Whilst they were in this relationship, they had had a 4th child, which you can see the journey of like throughout the entire Notorious Jenkins TikTok if you scroll down far enough. And currently, she is pregnant with their 5th child, thereby making them soon to be a family of 7. And when I say she documents this journey, I mean she posts multiple TikToks every day and has been doing this for like half a decade now. All in an attempt to become TikTok famous by essentially, let's call a spade here, exploiting her children. Please bear with me here. I know it sounds very accusatory, but this gets really, really bad really quickly. One thing that's really important to stress here that a lot of people don't really know about or don't mention because you have to scroll down so far to see the extent of how bad it is that this woman here was always planning, like for years now, to be a quote-unquote mummy content creator, if that makes any sense. Like, she has always wanted a career out of being a mother on the internet and having a family channel. There are tens of posts on the account's early days of her essentially begging for 10k followers. She was doing sub for sub style things at some point as well. I even found this video of her complaining that she couldn't get any of her TikToks to blow up.
Trying to post a viral video on here feels like screaming for help in the middle of a death metal concert. Like, yo, see me, put me in the fucking algorithm. I'm here, I'm posting daily, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make edits and make more appealing videos that people will want to see. So, what the give me a breakthrough, TikTok. Just fucking post my shit on people's For You page, please. In my 3 years of posting, I've only had one video that was about to go viral. In like 2 minutes of posting it, it had 65 comments. But it was so nasty, and I wasn't in a mental place to handle all that hate yet. Now, come at me. Put all the hate you want in my comments. Whatever, as long as it's pushing the algorithm. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the hate. Because apparently that's how you grow.
Now that last bit there is also very important because she's acknowledging that she is going to get hate and the hate is going to help her grow. Bear this in mind because she gets into like rage baiting territory with her children a lot later into the story. And it's just as grim as it sounds, by the way. Now, the main controversy here stems from just how impoverished the family is. Like, they live in a one-bedroom apartment, as you could see from that one video we showed earlier. And I'm sure we'll be having some overlays as I'm talking right now so you can see exactly what the place they live in looks like. And yet, despite that, despite how little money the two have, they are deciding to consciously have more children, right? It's not an accidental thing. They want more children. Despite that, there's countless videos on this account of her basically complaining about how poor she is.
I am too. But that's just for now because I truly believe
If we set goals and just keep pushing, it'll happen.
Alongside TikToks like that one though, we have ones like these. Help a girl out. My hubby said if we can flip our financial position, this doesn't have to be our last baby, and I'm really not ready to stop having babies yet. So there you go, that's proof that she wants more children, despite knowing for a fact that she will be unable to provide for those children as much as she should. And this is where it gets tough, because without getting too personal, I've mentioned this before, but I am not somebody who comes from money, to say the least. I am not tone deaf or inexperienced enough to say something along the lines of, you should not be having children unless all of those kids can have their own bedroom and their own space. I'm fully aware that that just isn't possible for a lot of people, and that's absolutely fine. And I really do need to caveat this whole video, this whole discussion, with an almost clarification that what I say about this family is not a generalization and cannot be applied to poor families or poor people in general. There's a lot of classism around this discussion, and I fucking hate that. But I'll elaborate more on that bit later when I talk about the responses to the notorious Jenkins account, which there are a lot of on TikTok because this shit went huge. Another important bit of context to remember is that this mother is actually a victim of domestic violence. Not in the current relationship, obviously, but in the one that she was in beforehand. I think the father of the two children that she has was responsible for said domestic violence. And as tragic as that is, a lot of people conveniently leave that out of their response videos to this situation, probably because they're scared it'll make their videos seem a lot more tone deaf and a lot less haha funny. Either that or they just didn't do any fucking research whatsoever, which there's a lot of that as well, but again, more on that later. Because some of the responses to this stuff is just as irresponsible to the situation itself. Now, I can preface this video all I want, but once again, we need to be truthful here. As much as I hate the deep-rooted hatred of poverty that sort of clouds this discussion, we have to acknowledge just how neglectful these parents are. You might see me pointing out some unknown truths in this video as some weird form of defense when it's not. I'm just doing that. Pointing out truths that are very important to the situation. I'm not defending them. All I'm doing is pointing out the facts. A lot of you probably thought that they have 7 children, when no, they're just a family about to be a family of 7. But there are a lot of TikTokers who just don't mention that because they never bothered to do any research.
Giving that woman with the 6 kids, or going on 7.
So all I'm doing is pointing out the facts here, and the facts are that you've been lied to for a lot of this conversation, but the facts are also that these parents are fucking horrible. It should go without saying that the children should not be sleeping on the living room or kitchen floor, especially right next to the front door, especially when the two parents get the nice proper bedroom with the king-size bed. Now, there is an argument to be made that the mother is, you know, pregnant and seems to be very close to the birth happening, so fair enough, give her the bed, but the dad does not need the big bed. Any proper father, I hate to take it there by the way, but any proper father, any proper man would give the child their bed over themselves. Air mattresses are like $20. You can give the kids air mattresses. It's like they're not even fucking trying. While I sit here stuck on the fact that I can't give my kids the life I envisioned prior to having kiddos, my son comes here with his sweet little self to remind me at least we have each other and a place to call home. I'm sorry love, but your priorities are just like the music that you decided to use for this TikTok. Inside out. Because I really don't think I'm an arsehole for pointing out that if you can't give your current children the life that you envisioned, the life that you deem good enough for them, why on earth would you decide that it would be appropriate to have more children? Because all you're doing is producing one more child for the world that you cannot give the life that you envisioned to. Not having the ability or financial position to give your kids the life that you envisioned is honestly a really sad and genuine thought process that I really empathize with most of the time, and it is important to note that there is a lot of love on this TikTok account for sure, and there's a lot to feel sorry for them about. In no way is this video purely a hate video or me purely lambasting these people, because at the end of the day I feel sorry for a lot of the people involved, especially the children, and to an extent I feel sorry for the parents as well, because I do believe that they want to give their children a better life. It doesn't show on their TikToks at all, and they're going about it the wrong way, whether it be maliciously or ignorantly. You just can't do something as reprehensible as this and then stick on a song from a children's movie to make it seem okay. Like, could you imagine if I went on video and said something like, oh yeah, and then I gave that horse the best hand job of its life, but I tried to stroke as fast as possible. It was just a bit difficult because their dick is like 10 feet long, so it is quite tough to, like, you know, stroke really fast. Just because I put some nice music over it, it doesn't make the story any less horrific. Here's another thing, by the way. This family has 2 cats.
This cat be insisting on laying right on top of my uterus, bro, every time I'm pregnant.
And as anybody who owns cats knows, These are not cheap animals to have. And when you combine that with the fact that this family doesn't even have enough money to provide for their children properly, to give them beds to sleep on, yeah, it comes as no surprise that these cats have some serious medical issues. One of them seems to have a really bad skin condition. They have like cat trees and toys for the cats and litter trays and everything. Like, these are not cheap animals to have. If you got rid of the cats or just didn't buy them to begin with, you would have a lot more excess money to take care of your fucking children. And in this TikTok, they talk about how they share spoons and only have a total of 7 forks. I'm really sorry, but if you have a PS5, if you have 2 cats that you buy toys for, and cat trees for, and food for, then you can afford to buy more fucking spoons. And if you really can't afford to buy 2 spoons, you need to do something about it. Like, get rid of the fucking cats! And I'm not saying sell them. I'm not saying you need to make a profit off of selling them, but like, give them to a shelter who'll take them for free. Like, they need rescued. Simply getting rid of the fucking felines will give you a lot more financial freedom. How's that for alliteration, by the way? Now, on top of just being incredibly financially irresponsible to a dangerous point where you're literally damaging the lives of the children that you have and continue to have, there's also another big problem that I'm sure you can already, you know, tell by now, is that if the kids are appearing on screen, she shows their faces, she shows them, you know, doing regular children things, and she has absolutely no shame about it. In fact, she thinks it's a good thing, and she put a response video out defending herself about, you know, putting her kids' lives out for scrutiny, for everyone to see, and essentially exploiting them for TikTok views and money.
I respect people who are like, I don't share my kids on social media, I keep my kids' private life private. Bro, that's your choice. But why come at the moms who don't make that choice? Because I see it completely differently. My kids want to be a part of my videos. They feel like they're on TV. They feel like little celebrities. And they're being little celebrities in a safe space instead of like Nickelodeon.
As much as a lot of children may enjoy the feeling of attention, it simply does not equate to proper informed consent or an understanding of how these choices will influence their lives in the future. The fact is, children just don't understand the permanency of online content and the risks that come along with it. And by the sounds of things, you don't understand the risks either. Being a quote-unquote celebrity might be exciting in the short term, but they may in the future look back on these videos and be embarrassed or resentful or hate the fact that their, frankly, underprivileged lives were put online for everyone to see like this. A lot of children in underprivileged or impoverished households feel shame when they see their friends or everyone else in their school living lives that seem to be better than theirs. And the very concept of having a friend from school over for like dinner or something tends to bring these kids a lot of shame in a lot of cases. So imagine in future, instead of just having a friend over, you have the entire world peering into your childhood. I wouldn't blame them for feeling exposed or embarrassed or resentful at a later age for the amount that you've put them online.
If this is going to be how it continues to be, we're going to make money through social media, or that's just going to be like the livelihood. It's entertainment, which that's how America's always been. That's how the world is. I feel like I'm doing my kids a disservice by not giving them a good start to that. By not giving you like, hey, this is Mitt, Mutt, and Mo. This is their life growing up. And then as they grow up, they're going to want to start their own social medias. And I think it's going to be awesome to have their perspective too. And they'll be like, this is me all grown up. Now I'm going to come prank my mom and take the video on that perspective. I think it's going to be cool.
See, this is what I mean as well. She has a pre-planned idea of what the family is going to be when they grow up. She wants to run a family channel. You know those family channels that pretty much the entire internet, everybody above the age of 10 years old, everybody with a functioning fucking frontal lobe, hates because they understand how unethical and ridiculous those disgusting family channels are? That's what she aspires to be, and she is forcing those wants, those aspirations on her children, who may very well grow up to not want to do those things. Especially because when you force a child into something, a lot of the time they tend to resent it. Like the amount of parents who force their children into a certain sport that they wish they could have been better at as a kid, or could have made it bigger, and then that kid resents that sport. That kid doesn't want to run or box or fight or fence anymore, for example, because they were forced into it from such a young age and were basically fulfilling the dreams of their parents for so long. It leads to a resentment of one's parents a lot of the time. You can push your kids in certain directions, sure, but to force the square peg into the circle hole like you're doing here is extremely irresponsible.
Okay, you're hiding your kid while they're at home. You're hiding their private life. You don't post your kid on social media. Do you take them out of the house? There's cameras everywhere. There's public, there's people, there's no hiding our children in today's world. There just isn't. I mean, yes, you keep them safe, but my kids are safe. I ain't worried about their safety. Ain't no one coming up in that door.
Well, you'd better hope so, because they sleep right next to that front door, so if someone did come in, those children would be the first thing that they see. Also, this is by far the worst point that this woman has ever made, possibly in her entire career, because there is such a huge difference between a fleeting glimpse of a child on a security camera that will never be spoken of, or interacted with, or even acknowledged by anyone, pretty much, versus a catalogue of their entire lives from birth to teenager. It's fucking ridiculous. How can you sit there and say something like that with a straight face, man? Actually, you've not even got a straight face. In all these videos, you're smirking, you're smiling, especially in the later ones, because you finally achieved your dream. You've finally become the famous family channel that you've always wanted to be. Was it worth it?
I mean, I know where they're at when they leave this house. And I damn sure make sure that they're safe. And I do get that people do that creepy stuff where they like pinpoint your location based on your video, but like, who's seeking me out? Who's seeking me and my family out? I get 200, 300 views if I'm lucky. For now, it's about the enjoyment, it's about the process, and the fact that my kids want to be a part of it, and sometimes I want them to be a part of it. So yeah, my kids are in my videos.
It really doesn't matter if your kids enjoy it now, like, it just doesn't, Elas. I could take 2 tabs and snort a couple of lines and I'll probably love it for the moment, but something tells me that future me would probably resent the past me for doing something like that. I'd probably regret that decision very much. The fact that I enjoy it in the moment is nowhere near as important as how it will affect me in the future.
There's definitely a side to social media that I feel is like my own part of it that I don't necessarily want my kids in, because it's kind of like where I get to voice out my personality. I don't know how else to put that. I just feel like as moms, we kind of lose our personality and we lose ourself within our kids and that title of just being mom. And for me, like when I make my cooking videos or when I do something where my children aren't necessarily involved, that's when I kind of finally feel like, oh, hey, I'm not just mom. I don't like my name Stephanie, but I am Stephanie. I can do more for the world than just be mom.
Parents definitely deserve the space to express themselves and reattain their identities for sure, because there is a risk for a lot of parents of just being known as dad or mum. But that independence does not require putting your children in the spotlight. If anything, if you want to retain your personality, yourself that much, then the best thing to do would be to leave the children out, to not put them in your videos at all. Not only is that better for the children, but it also gives you something more than just being a mother.
Alright, let's do it. This is my carnita recipe.
Okay, so this is one of many cooking videos which are a staple on her channel. Like every 2 or 3 videos will be a cooking video where she shows how to cook for a family of 7.
Right, okay, I make some refried beans with it, some Spanish rice, and my kids prefer like a taco plate kind of thing, and then my man and I prefer like a carnita bowl.
To be honest with you, it looks good, and not only does it look good, it looks like she doesn't just cook for the camera. The sheer amount of cooking videos on her channel, and the videos almost being daily, definitely gives off the impression that she is genuinely attempting to cook daily for her big family. And she seems to be doing a great job. Now, that being said, we can't obviously trust that it's not for the cameras, because anybody who uses their kids for fame this much cannot be trusted, in my opinion. In fact, influencers in general, you just can't take anything they post at face value like this. However, it does seem as though she is genuinely cooking well for all those children, especially given the circumstances, and that is impressive, and it is something that is genuinely to be admired. And this is what I mean when I say there are some good aspects to this account. I'm not saying that these parents are all bad, because no one's all bad and no one's all good. But the bad outweighs the good more so than it should here, and these good aspects are just not good enough to justify the creation and maintenance of this TikTok account. It's very easy for people to sit there and say, oh, it's so clear that she loves those children, and yeah, maybe she does. Maybe she thinks the world of them. Maybe she loves them more than any parent has ever loved their child in the history of the planet. But that love is not enough to get rid of the intense shame and embarrassment that these kids may feel when they go to school and see the lives of everyone around them, for example. These kids may come to feel as though their parents weren't doing as much as they could have to put them in a better spot. These kids may grow up to think that their parents were almost exploiting their poverty for TikTok views and fame. And no amount of love is going to change that or make it any better. Okay, so there was a TikTok on the account that got deleted, and I'm so sad that I didn't download it or anything because I can't show any proof here, so all you have is my word. You can choose to believe me if you want, but I think I know why it was deleted. We'll get to that later. The video in question was one of their kids on the seesaw. This kid was the black kid, the one that the dad brought into the family because originally that dad was in a all-black family. Now that bit isn't too relevant, I'm just saying what kid this video was about, and the caption was something like, "As much as I love this child, I'll never forgive his baby mama for drinking whilst he was in the womb, fucking his genetics up," basically. Not only are you airing out the dirty laundry of a mother who, for all we know, could be completely innocent, but you're also fucking airing out the kid's dirty laundry as well. Like, what if he grows up and he doesn't want people to know about his deficiencies or how his mother was treating him when he was in the womb? It's not your place to do something like that. Why are you venting publicly about how much you hate your child's mother? It's not fucking normal behavior. Now, this is a good segue to talk about the father now, because there's a lot of chat about this bloke, and we'll talk a lot about him in this video. I'll play this TikTok to start off with. Drew is trying to start a side gig with wheel detailing. I plan to share a detailing video 1 to 2 times weekly to promote his business endeavor until it's a reality. All my hubby wants is more opportunities to work from home and stop missing his kiddos' lives. Now, I understand that what I'm about to say might sound unspeakably harsh and vile to an extent, but this guy needs to get a fucking job. Now, I understand that it's tough to find work sometimes, right? Especially depending on what part of America you're in. They're in Portland, Oregon, I believe. But the fact is that this dad, Drew, his name is, at the minute, is hustling. He's doing side gigs and hustling for cash. He does like DoorDash, he does these wheel details, stuff like that. He doesn't have a set job that he can call his own with guaranteed benefits and all the benefits that come with a regular government-funded job. He's one of those people who has big aspirations and entrepreneurial plans, which is one thing if you're in a one-man household like I am, because I also have those plans, but it's a completely different thing when you're in a family of 6 going on 7 with 5 little children whose mouths you need to feed. When you have that much responsibility, I'm sorry, as sad as it is, you need to put your dreams aside for 1 second and get a regular job with the regular benefits that come with said job to provide for your family properly. You don't need any form of education or degree to get a government job, right? There's plenty of options here if you really try, and with the amount of TikToks that you post on this account, I feel like if you were really trying to get a job in retail or a post office or any government job, then we would know about it because you wouldn't fucking shut up about it. Don't hustle on TikTok without any backup. Don't do wheel details without any backup. This market, I'm sorry to tell you, but there isn't enough in this market for you to make it as an entrepreneur here. And I know I sound cold as I say this, but I really do have sympathy for people who are trying to achieve their dreams and it just hasn't come true. It hasn't gone the way that they wanted. That's the scary part of having dreams. They don't always come true. And I think chasing your dreams is an incredibly admirable thing, but you can't be irresponsible. You can't quit your day job. You can't only single-mindedly aim for that dream without a backup plan. You need to do a regular job and do your hobby on the side, with hopes that one day you can make your hobby your job. It's exactly what I've done with YouTube. I was doing regular jobs before this. I worked in a hospital, I worked in a fucking Weatherspoons, I've worked in food, culinary, retail, I've worked regular jobs before, and luckily, thank you, by the way. Thank you, all of you. I really mean that. I've managed to make this a job. And that really is all you guys, baby. So thank you so much for that. But regressing back to this, it's just irresponsible and unacceptable in my opinion. I understand that you want to be at home to see the children as much as you want. But if you're this poor, you need to have a job. You need to sacrifice seeing them so that you can provide for them to an extent, right? One of the shit things about living in a family this poor is that you don't see your parents as much as you probably should or want to because they need to work really hard. A lot of the time, time far away from the home so that they can keep your lives sustainable and as fruitful as they can be. It's impossible to get everything you want when you live a life like this. You need to make some sacrifices, more so than the average family. But here is where things get really dark, really dire, and somehow 100 times worse than anything we've covered so far, because that kid's baby mama is on TikTok and has responded to the whole situation with a 10-minute video. So let's watch that now.
Hi. Since we're on here speaking about the resilient Jenkins, actually, he has more than one son. Hi, I'm the first baby mama. I'm absolutely embarrassed at the fact that that's my sperm donor. I will not be posting my child on here because y'all not gonna know.
That's what a good parent sounds like, by the way. I won't be showing my child on here because you don't need to know. That's fucking bang on. In fact, it's not even what a good parent says. It's what an okay parent says. It's what a competent parent says. I mean, it's one thing to make content and have your child appear every now and then, but it's another thing to make content solely based around your children. The latter, in my opinion, is unjustifiable. The former isn't ideal, but, you know, it's fine. It's not the end of the world.
That man that everybody's saying they have two loving parents, walked out of his son's life when he was 2. Okay. Hasn't seen his son since he was 5. And that's because I reached out to him to come to his kindergarten graduation. And at the time, he only had one child, which was the little black boy you guys see in his videos. That's my oldest's little brother. Now, my oldest, who's at the top, because he will be 12, doesn't even know he has 2 other siblings. So no, they didn't meet when he had one child. He probably has more.
I mean, that's just fucking abhorrent now, isn't it? Like, the whole situation really has just gone from bad to unjustifiable to disgusting even. What a fucking awful blow. We already knew he was irresponsible from his financial choices and the jobs that he does and his hustle mentality, for lack of a better word, and the amount that he games. And they have an Amazon wishlist. There's a fucking gaming keyboard for him on that Amazon wishlist, but we'll get onto that later. So we already knew he wasn't the most responsible parent, but all of this is like, I mean, it blows the other shit out of the water to leave your kids' lives this easily and without any thought, and to only see them when she basically forces you to for a kindergarten graduation and no contact since then. Fuck me, it really is just awful. You're not a real man at that point, bro. It's a fucking disappointment. It's pathetic. Seriously. But hey, at least he pays child support. Right?
He hasn't paid child support, but he has a PS5. I feel bad for those kids. I literally feel bad for my child's siblings, sad to say, that they have to sleep on the floor. And that man has not changed. And it's disrespectful, mind you, my child's name is being changed. I'm at work, but I keep seeing this shit, and it makes my blood boil. My son doesn't have to worry about anything. He's in a loving home. He has grandparents. He has his aunties, his uncles, close family members that are surrounded. My son is loved, and he knows he's loved, and I'm so glad I kept my son out of that situation.
I mean, you've really got to feel for this woman. She is at work and she has been bombarded so much with resilient Jenkins content that she just had to make a video like this, and I don't blame her. To be constantly reminded of the awful man that you had a child with, and not only reminded of him, but seeing him on such a huge public platform, seeing the child that you had, your son, being treated so badly and living such a impoverished and bad life because of him. must be awful. I can't imagine how awful that must feel. Seeing him take the king-size bed and leaving your kid on the fucking kitchen floor. Fuck me. I can't imagine how bad that must feel. I feel really bad for this fucking woman. I need to stop swearing. I really do, but I'm heated. I hate recording this video. I usually love this job, but this is like the best thing in the world, and I love recording, but I'm having a bit more of a difficult time here. So sorry if I get emotional. I'll try to stop my potty mouth, I promise. I swear a lot at the best of times, man, so when I'm heated, it's all gone at that point. But anyway, back to the video.
Because I never not wanted my son to not know his dad. And he's asked, and I've tried. I have receipts. I've tried to get him to be a part. Even his son asked, Mommy, I just want to know my dad. Why can't I see my dad? Mind y'all, when that happened, I reached out to him. He read the message, never replied. So I had to put my son in counseling just because I knew it was bothering him, and there was nothing that I could say that was going to help him. I just told him, your dad made choices, and he chose to make those choices. It has nothing to do with you. So for people that are saying like, oh, they're in a one-bedroom apartment there with 2 loving parents. No, that's not love. You don't put your kids on the floor. You sacrifice for your kids. You don't put your kids on the floor. His priorities were messed up, and that's why we never worked the fuck out. That's why we didn't work out. Because his priorities, as you guys can see, are all messed up.
I mean, yeah, she's bang on. His priorities are messed up. His priorities are cleaning wheels on cars as opposed to seeing the child that he had with her. The guy's a huge mug. Point blank period. He's a mug. And it sucks that he has like a platform now, a TikTok page with 100,000 followers, because he does not deserve that platform. I mean, this story started off with a couple bad TikToks, a couple of bad choices that a family was making. There was a debate over whether or not what they were doing is morally acceptable. And from then, it spiraled. It spiraled into completely unjustifiable and awful territory with a lot of damaged lives in the process. I don't feel sorry for any of the fucking adults in this situation. I feel sorry for this mother here that we're watching right now. But the 2 adults who are raising those 5 kids in that 1-bedroom apartment, fuck them. I had sympathy before. I don't feel bad for them at all. I feel bad for the kids that they're fucking the lives up of. Who's to say he doesn't just ditch them again and leave those 5 children with 1 mother? I mean, he's done it before, hasn't he?
You're going viral. For what? And then you continue to make more babies, and you couldn't even take care of the first one that you had. He don't even know you, but he wanted to know you. You don't even know how great of a kid you got. And I'm so blessed that he doesn't have to worry about being in that situation. He would never have to be there. But what I am sad for is, he's never going to know his siblings. And the way Portland is so small, no telling if he would ever run into his siblings when he gets older and not even know it. I have to protect my baby, y'all. I can't even let him see this. He don't have no phone, but I'm sure there'll be somebody out there that can, and he'll see it. So now I have to kind of keep him at bay and let him know myself. But yeah, Andrew, I hope you showed up to your court case for your child support. That was on October 2nd. It is October 29th.
I mean, that is just tragic. That man, biologically, sure, he may be the kid's father, but He's not a father. He is not fatherly enough to be considered a real father, because he's not there for his children. Those children deserve better to have someone like him in their lives, quite frankly, so maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Genuinely, I mean that. But what she's right about is that those kids do deserve to know their siblings. And it's really sad that whatever sibling Andrew has drawn the short end of the stick there. Because from what it looks, it seems as though this woman here is a lot more caring and, you know, an actually competent parent who cares for her children.
And while the Oregon's been looking for you, Andrew Alexander Jenkins, all the shit you've been doing, literally all the shit you've been doing, is going to come back tenfold. Your dad, bless his soul, that he ain't here to see this. You're an embarrassment. I'm sick. But I have the most beautiful son. And he would never be nothing like you.
If I were to see this out of context, I would think, fuck me, what has this bloke done? This is probably a huge overreaction, and, like, what could someone do to elicit a reaction this strong and actually be justified? But now, watching this video with all the context that we have, I think she's being too light on him. To call him an embarrassment is genuinely an understatement here. Calling Andrew Alexander Jenkins an embarrassment is like calling Adolf Hitler a bit of a rat. Because whilst, yes, he definitely is an embarrassment, oh, fuck me, he's a lot more than that. He's evil. He's genuinely evil. You can't treat people like that, man. You can't just ignore your responsibilities. Run away from your responsibilities like you are right now. If you make the choice to leave your children like you did, you need to pay child support. Although, it's pretty difficult to pay child support when you don't have a fucking job!
But that last name that my son is carrying is coming off.
Good. I couldn't think of anything better to do to that last name than get rid of it, because it is not representative of the people who are bringing him up. It is not a good surname to helm, like, at all. And when we just mentioned Hitler, you know how his death sort of meant the death of the last name Hitler as well? So the same thing should happen here. There should be no more Jenkins in the world. At least no more Jenkins that can be traced back to this motherfucker.
You've hurt my son.
By the way, little side note, I love that she is saying my son and not our son, because she doesn't claim him, and nor should she. Like, more power to her, in my opinion. Blood does not mean shit when they're this irresponsible, or this uncaring. It doesn't, man. I don't give a fuck if we have the same surname. If you're this much of a prick, I don't claim you. You're not my dad. That's me talking from the perspective of this woman's son for whatever reason. I don't know why I did that in, like, first person, but you know what I mean. I'm not talking about my actual dad. My dad's great.
You're an embarrassment. She's an embarrassment. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what people are saying. It's an embarrassment. You should be embarrassed. And if you could sleep at night knowing that your kids sleep on that floor and you're able to just be up in a room decked out with a PS5 and you don't even take care of your first child and you think you about to be blessed. Oh no.
I don't know what I'm doing here. She's so eloquently displaying and articulating everything wrong with the Jenkins family. I feel like she's doing my job for me. I mean, I've already talked about all this, and it's great to have a primary source, someone who was directly involved with him, validate what I've been saying. Because it means I'm not just being unjustified in my hatred for how they're treating their fucking children. A real man, a real father, sacrifices the nice comfy bed for their children. And that's that. I think this was genuinely a necessary video to make. A lot of people may criticize it and say, oh, you shouldn't be making private information public, you shouldn't be talking about this, it's very private information. It is very private information. But this mother, this genuinely good and loving mother with children and a husband now that they really need to care for, some of those children even biologically being his as well, for her to sit there and have to look at the entire internet, many of whom are praising the two parents for working so hard and being so loving, for her to sit there knowing the history of this man, having been with him before and having to have experienced his uncaring nature, his maliciousness and how awful and irresponsible he was, witnessing that many people praise him, praise the family for being loving parents, must be extremely painful. So I completely understand why she made this video, and everyone calling those parents loving and caring and epic, for lack of a better word, deserve to know how fucking awful they are as well. So, in response response to this video, Notorious Jenkins, predictably, honestly, it's mental. They're really influencers now, doing apology videos, response videos, and everything. She really got what she wanted. She's a true family channel. You know, at first, it's like, kind of iffy, you're not got that many followers, but now you've released an apology video, not even an apology, a response video, you're official now. Well done, lass. You're a family channel. Once again, I hope it was fucking worth it.
The child support and child. I have the one other child. I've been paying child support.
First of all, why on earth would you say his name publicly like that so early on in the video with no fucking care? It's ridiculous. You've immediately shown that you're just as uncaring, just as irresponsible as that woman was claiming. I don't want to call her that woman, by the way. I'll find her name now. Nailsbyarlita is the TikTok account, as Arlita was claiming. I genuinely can't believe you said his name like that. I said I wasn't going to get heated, but fuck me, that has really, really annoyed me. She made it so clear that she was trying to protect his identity, to keep him private as possible, and you've gone and immediately, 30 seconds into this video, said his name. Fuck you. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say about the child support.
Been paying child support via garnishments ever since I can remember. And I worked at a W-2 since I was 18, 19. Worked nights, multiple jobs, never made above 22 an hour.
Work jobs that worked your body to the bone and...
Yeah, I worked retail, I worked overnight, I worked at Home Depot. Where else did I work? I worked at Jackson's. I worked at Grocery Outlet. I pumped gas. I pumped gas. I did HVAC for a year.
Jobs that work your body to the bone. I was expecting to hear construction, you know, something a lot more physical, something involves a lot of hard labor. No. Retail, Home Depot, pumping gas. You're not working your body to the bone there, pal. And don't get me wrong, I'm not that out of touch to say that jobs aren't hard. Even simple jobs like those ones, for example, but... It just seems very over-exaggerative to say you've been working to the bone. You sit behind a fucking cash register, count change, and give shit to people, and put fucking chips on the shelf. You're not cleaning out Chernobyl here, mate. You're literally doing the bare minimum. You're not even doing the bare minimum to take care of the 5 children in your household. I know it's 4 children right now, but I count the 5th one because she is very, very pregnant.
Doing the most work, coming on the weekends to do scrap metal, and then going to Jackson's, and I only got a $4 raise after a year, and people got an $8 raise, making 32 plus, and they sat me at 24.
$20 to $24 is quite a good raise. Like, I don't know, there isn't much to complain about there in my opinion. I'll be honest, this public response here is so disjointed and so difficult to listen to and so quiet that I'm not going to watch the whole thing right now. You can go watch it if you want to. I have seen it before, but I'm not going to, you know, subject you to it for this video. If you're going to make a response to this magnitude, of this importance, make some fucking notes or something. Have a little bit more structure, for fuck's sake. This is your job now, innit? This is what you've always wanted, so maybe put a bit of fucking effort in. But anyway, you claim that you were paying child support. Arlita came back with another video in response to their response, so let's have a look at it. And she brings receipts, by the way, something that you have never, ever done.
So if you've been paying what you said you've been paying, Andrew, why do they need this? Did you do it? Did you do it? Oh yeah, Stephanie, do you want me to, do you want me to send you the message that I sent you back in August with the affidavit? You fucking cluck. Do you? Oh, Andrew, do you want me to go back to my messenger? To my messenger. Do you want me to go back to my messenger? I could pull up all the shit. I don't care how many jobs you had. You never stayed at one. And when he was getting a little itty bitty bit, he wasn't getting much. I remember getting in my account that from the state of Oregon, they sent me 5 cents.
So there you go. Not only are Stephanie and Andrew Jenkins fucking deadbeats, to say the least. To put it lightly, they're deadbeats. But they're also liars. They are despicable people down to the fucking bone. And the fact that the shame that they should be experiencing doesn't seep through their pores, isn't evident in every video that they're in, is indicative of their characters, in my opinion. They're not good people. And they're definitely not good parents.
Sit up there stuttering like a motherfucker. You can't even get your motherfucking story straight. You stupid bitch. You pissed me the fuck off. You done set me off. Now I'm unhinged.
See, even she was annoyed by how disjointed and annoying that response video was, stuttering like a motherfucker. If I ever release a video of me stuttering that much, if I ever come to a point where I care that little about my content, I want all of you to unsubscribe from the channel and leave a nasty personally email me about how terrible I am and how I don't deserve a fucking career anymore. I couldn't imagine.
I work. I'm a caregiver. I take care of my oldest. I take care of my stepson.
I just feel so bad for this woman. And as angry as she clearly is, honestly, I'd be way angrier. I would be far worse than she is. She is containing herself amazingly. It's very impressive in my opinion. I would be in tears, shaking out of anger. I'm not even joking you. And what she's saying is extremely poignant as well. Like, she is a working woman. She didn't ask for any of this social media bullshit. And you just have to feel for that. You have to, one, respect the fact that she's a mother, a worker, providing for children that aren't even biologically hers, half of them. Because, you know, she's actually a responsible adult who's doing the right thing for the children and the people around her who she's meant to love dearly. And for the record, everyone watching this video, respect the fact that, yeah, she isn't a social media person. She doesn't do this shit. She's not a public influencer. She posts her nails on her TikTok account for, you know, advertising or publicity or marketing, and she does a great job. And that's the extent of it. So, kindly, I ask you all to respect her privacy. Anyway, back to the notorious Jenkins account itself, there's another glaring problem. Because the kids are getting older. Some of these kids are, you know, aging rapidly. And by that I mean, you know, they're aging at the normal rate, but it's been going on for such a long time now that a lot of them are approaching their teenage years. And if you compare videos like this to modern ones, you can see that the rooms have not changed at all. They still live in the same one-bedroom apartment that they've lived in for years now. There's still no beds, there's still the same kitchen, there's still the same cats. Everything is the exact same, but the kids are getting bigger and older and entering their teenage years. They're going to need more space than they did when they were children. I'm sorry, but when you have this many children, they're gonna end up needing their privacy at some point. I understand that there's limits to the amount of privacy that a child can have based on the financial situation of whatever family that they're in, but they can't be sleeping next to each other like this in one room. And you gotta remember, they're sharing one toilet as well. It's a family of 7. If one stomach virus intrudes the house, they're all fucked. And as these kids enter their teenage years, both boy and girl teenagers, by the way, occupying the same space, they're gonna need more places to sleep. I'm sorry, they can't live in a place like this. It's just not gonna happen. I'll be very surprised if they do carry on with this and don't end up resenting their parents by the end of it, because fuck me, it's just awful living conditions like. The place is gonna get very, very stinky and a lot less hospitable than it already is, believe it or not. These are things that you should probably be thinking of before you decide to have a 5th fucking child! God damn it! I can't believe it! I'm losing my voice here talking about this shit, man.
I'm fine. I am fine. I'm fine.
The reality of being flat broke is knowing you can't do shit about your kid's cat's skin infection other than rehome the animal to someone more financially able to handle it. Why do I have to take my baby's baby? I really don't want to. Well, you know what I would do if I was in a predicament like this? First of all, what I wouldn't do is set my phone up and cry into a camera and post it for hundreds of thousands of people to see. That's what I probably wouldn't do. I don't think that does anything for anyone. How do you think your kids are gonna feel when they go on TikTok and see their mother crying about their fucking cat? You think they're gonna look at that and think, oh yeah, I'm so glad that she cares for us? They're gonna think, what the fuck is my mum doing? How about instead of venting online like some knob and telling the internet about your problems and begging for money and TikTok fame, you actually be a responsible parent and rehome the cat like you should have done fucking years back, you knob. You don't need cats. You shouldn't have cats. There's nothing tragic about giving a cat that you can't take care of to a family that can take care of it. In fact, that is quite literally the opposite of tragic. It would be more tragic for you to keep the cat, for God's sake. And it also goes without saying, if you can't take care of this cat, why are you having another child? You could say that for every issue that you have, though. Oh, we can't afford beds. Okay, so why are you having another kid? Oh, our cat is ill and we can't take care of it. Okay, so why are you having another kid? You live in a one-bedroom apartment! Consciously choosing to have more children is unspeakably selfish. Like, I can't even, there aren't enough words in the fucking English language to describe how selfish that shit is. My hubby said that if I can take our account viral and change our financial situation, he'll hump away and give me as many babies as I want. So help a girl out and share. Follow and help my account so I can make this man a father of 7. I think it's best for everyone, considering what we know now, that he's a father of 0. Another kid for him is just another fucking human being that he doesn't want to take care of. And also, this post basically confirms that the whole thing is rage bait to an extent. Like, you cannot tell me that a post like this saying that he's gonna hump away to solve your problems is a post made in good faith. This is abhorrent, man. It's indefensible, like I've said so many times already. I can't believe that this is a fucking thing on TikTok. And that opens up a whole nother conversation, by the way. Why does TikTok allow this shit to happen? This account should not exist. It should be banned by now. The fact that this account has 100,000 followers, and yesterday it had 80k, so they've gained 20k followers in a day. That is not acceptable. So, as much as it's their fault for being horrible parents, half the blame honestly goes to TikTok. They should not be letting this happen. It just shouldn't be allowed. That measures should be taken. Measures should be put in place for this to not be a thing. As you can see from all these posts, it's pretty well known by now that this lassie is consciously choosing to have 6 children. She pre-planned it. She's been wanting 6 children exactly for decades now. And her selfish intentions to have 6 children trump the financial position that they're in. Even if she can't give them the life that they deserve, she's doing it because she wants 6 children. It's awful, and this is what takes it from like sad and possibly morally justifiable to unjustifiable. It's the conscious effort to bring more kids into a situation where they will not be able to have good lives. And like I've said, I'm not saying that every child needs to have their own bedroom. I'm not somebody who grew up with enough money to not realize how tone deaf that would be. And the fact that they're all sharing a room isn't even the issue here. There are plenty of poor families who have, been fucked over by the world or just ended up in a certain situation that have to share rooms like this, and they have a lot of love for their children, and those situations are genuinely sad. But I've never ever seen a family consciously try to put themselves in worse situations, fully aware of their inability to provide for the children that they are choosing to have. And that is what makes this situation so much worse than the average family that's in poverty. See, even lists like these, TikToks like these, I'm not going to read all this out because I'm not Illuminati, but like, all these lists and reasons why you keep posting, these should be done before you have children. And it's one thing to have a child accidentally and, you have religious beliefs or whatever, and you can end up in positions that you didn't want to be in, but you've consciously chosen to have children. You should have these things ready and done with before you do that. I mean, I have to give them credit. This is such a nice and sweet, wholesome TikTok of the whole family having a nice gaming session. They might be terrible people, but at least they're epic gamers, and they're encouraging their children to also be epic gamers. There's just one problem, though. Those kids' controllers aren't even fucking turned on, meaning that this is a staged and manufactured video that is not indicative of their real life. They couldn't even allow the kids to play on the PlayStation for a staged video, so who knows what those kids are doing when the camera isn't on. I would harbor a bet that the dad takes priority over who plays the PlayStation. If he wants to play, those kids aren't getting a second on the fucking game. I mean, you can tell that much from the fact that the PlayStation is in the parents' bedroom and not the kids' living room. And by the way, whilst we're here, look at the size of the bed. The kids can fit on that bed. At least a few of them can. The dad really should not be on that bed. Andrew, can you fuck off, please? Let your kids sleep, for fuck's sake. And I haven't even addressed the fact that they have a PS5. And look, I don't have as much of a problem with the fact that they own a PS5 as a lot of other people on TikTok do. I think that poor people are allowed to own nice things. Like, that's not a crime to own a PlayStation. And those kids are living such a difficult life that it's honestly, it might be nice for them to have something as nice as a PlayStation to have fun with. Now, that being said, I can definitely understand the argument that if you don't have proper beds, you probably probably shouldn't have a PlayStation, especially considering that air mattresses are £20 and you can get enough beds for all those children for the amount that a PlayStation actually costs. So I can definitely understand both sides of the argument, and the one thing I will say is that if you can't afford such things, you definitely shouldn't be having another kid, but I'm starting to sound like a broken record at this point, so you know what, we'll just move on to the next fucking TikTok.
Why have so many kids if you don't have enough space for them? See, my perception is judgment comes from a place of not having the experience. When you've experienced enough, you generally don't judge people. I can tell you after everything I've been through in the past 3 years, there's very little I have to judge people on. I would be lying if I said there wasn't a point in my life that I was so naive that I might have judged a poor person based off their appearance. And like I said, I have learned a lot. I generally look like I'm roughing it, but that's because our kids come first. I do everything I can to keep our environment clean and tidy.
If your kids come first, why are you sleeping on the bed and they're on the... If your kids come first, why are you on the bed and they're on the floor? It's that simple, man. They don't come first. You're prioritizing yourself. Don't lie to my fucking face. Don't insult my intelligence, you knob. Okay, you know what, guys? We're done with the TikToks. I think I've said everything I need to say about them, and they're just gonna make me angry now, so Notorious Jenkins, we'll leave that bit behind. We'll talk about the response now. And there's been a lot of responses by a lot of TikTokers here. And you know what? I also want to take this opportunity, because I've got so angry, I feel like a lot of people are gonna misinterpret what I'm saying, so I want to make one thing absolutely clear. People love to bash on poor people and poor families, or just people in poverty in general, and that's a fact. I'm sorry to say it, especially in, you know, more developed Western countries like America, where this family is from. I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the accounts who made videos on this, you know, resilient Jenkins situation don't even necessarily care or worry about the children, but just saw it as a fun opportunity to make fun of some poor people, which is super lame. And this isn't unfounded either. There is evidence for this, and that comes from how little research a lot of these people do. They just rushed in to make their TikToks without doing 1 ounce of research about the situation. I'll show you what I mean, but I want to say before I do, I'm not going to show any of these creators' usernames or anything that you can trace them back with, because I really don't want any hatred to be sent their way, but I will be using their TikToks because it is stuff that I need to talk about here.
Giving that woman with the 6 kids, or going on 7, in that 1-bedroom apartment where her and her man...
So this right here is the main thing. There are a lot of people who are claiming that she has 6 children going on 7 children, when if you actually listen to her in any of her TikToks, she says she is a family of 6 going on 7, meaning that they have 4 children about to have their 5th. So people are saying that they have 2 more children than they actually have, which is 1, either deliberately misinterpreting what they are saying to make the situation seem worse than it is for dramatic effect for whatever reason, which would be awful because you don't need to add dramatic effect. It's already terrible. Like, you don't need to make it worse to get your point across. The second option, however, is that they genuinely just did not do 1 ounce of research for the topic that they're talking about, which is really irresponsible considering the platform that a lot of these people have. If I did less research, I could probably get videos out every 2 days or so. I understand the appeal of raw dogging videos without having done any research. Like, I get it, trust me, but when you have this big of a platform, it's just not ethical, in my opinion. Like, you need to do the topic you're talking about justice by doing at least enough research for you to actually know what the fuck you're talking about. When you don't even know how many kids the family you're talking about has, which is central to the point you're making, then how can I trust you? I'm sorry. I guess there's also a secret third option where you did genuinely do your research, but you're just so lacking in media literacy that you'd probably be better off without the internet, to be honest, Pat.
And the fetus and the PS5 are safe and sound in the bedroom, while the 6 other kids are sleeping on the kitchen and living room floor, 1-bedroom apartment where her and her man. And the fetus and the PS5 are safe and sound in the bedroom, while the 6 other kids are sleeping on the kitchen and living room floor, like an episode of SVU, and Benson and Tutuola finna knock on the door any second now. The fact that she's getting away with that, there's only one reason for it, and it's because she is... Thank you very much.
So this lady here in particular, and I've heard a lot of people say this, so I don't want to single her out by any means, but like, she's making it about race, which I think is gross, because it's nothing to do with race and everything to do with class.
We understand occupancy limits. We understand that you can only have so many people in a house or in a given space, hotels, all of that stuff. I live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo with my husband, no kids. And I can't imagine having 6 going on 7 children in this space, let alone in a 1-bedroom apartment. But since her and her man are prioritizing keeping the gaming system safe and sound and not the children that could be abducted or anything could happen to them, considering some of them sleep right next to the fucking front door, in all honesty, it's weird. Y'all are so quick to call CPS on other folks, but y'all letting this lady skate past. And I'm supposed to believe it's for some other reason, yeah, miss me with that. You can say all you want, but this is just another instance of y'all sitting here saying y'all give a fuck about kids, but you only care about criminalizing certain parents. Thank you.
So she claims that the only reason that they're getting away with it is because the mother is white. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't consider being publicly lambasted by the entire internet and all of its creators counts as getting away with it. The Ace family were the biggest family channel on the internet. They had like, what, 25 odd million subscribers. They were exploiting their children to the max as much as they possibly could. They milked every second of content out of their children. And they were a family of color. Austin McBroom is literally a black man. I don't know about you, but I would consider mansions that size and sub-counts that large as getting away with it. I would not consider this to be getting away with it. Also, on the topic of not doing research, does this woman here not realize that Andrew Jenkins is literally a black man? Has she not even done enough research where she could look at him for 1 second? And if she does know that, then why is she even making this video? I just hate that we can't have a mature conversation about this situation without spouting bullshit. Also, whether the family are white or black or yellow or red, CPS are not going to do anything about this situation because it's a family where there are two parents who, from the outside looking in, seem to have a lot of love for their children. The teachers probably have no complaints about the children big enough for CPS to take notice. The landlord, according to Stephanie from all the videos, knows about the situation that they're in, so they're not breaking any rules in terms of like occupancy. On top of that, Portland has received so many calls about CPS recently from people worried about this family that they've had to make public statements about people. They need to stop calling them basically because they're not doing anything. There's nothing CPS can do. They're so overrun at the minute with, you know, cases worse than this, sadly, that there's just not much they can do here. And even if they were to come in and do something, the foster system in America is so awful that they might even end up worse than they already are. I mean, at the very least, they'd definitely be separated, and that comes with a whole host of issues, doesn't it?
The children are okay. Yeah. They're in a safe environment with two parents that love each other. I keep on hearing a lot of women saying, this is ridiculous. You have brought children into this world, into poverty. The reality is, she had two children, he had a son.
Well, we know now that he had a lot more than just one son. So for this woman to come in and talk like she knows everything about the situation, when realistically, just like everybody else, all we know is what has been publicly put out there, is once again grossly irresponsible.
She didn't have 6 children for him. Second, children don't know they're poor until someone else points it out. And I saw the video and all I see is that she is a loving mother. She cooks for them. She brushes their hair. Those children look healthy.
So this woman's saying that because the children look like they're being taken care of on camera, they must be treated well off camera as well. Now I'm going to say something, and this goes for all content creators, not just family channels, not just the notorious Jenkins. What you, the audience, see is what we, as creators, want you to see. And if I had a damaging habit of spreading my arsehole out the window and shitting on the birds as they flew by, I know for damn sure that I would not include it in these videos. Because why would I want you to know that bit about me? I promise you it was an example, by the way. I don't do that. Look, all I'm trying to say here is you can never be so quick to trust online creators to this extent, especially ones who exploit their children to the extent that, you know, Notorious Jenkins are. I don't think that no matter how much good faith a family channel has, you should never trust anybody who exploits their children online. Also, let's have another listen to the example she gives of good parenting.
And I saw the video and all I see is that she is a loving mother. She cooks for them. She brushes their hair.
Oh, she cooks for them and brushes their hair. That's lovely. You mean the bare minimum that every fucking parent should be doing? I've had my parents pull this shit on me as well. Like, whenever I get a bit too sassy or show a bit too much attitude for their liking, they'll be like, don't argue with me. We give you food, we give you a house, we give you so much love. And I'll be like, yeah, you mean what you should be doing. You mean the exact thing that every fucking parent should be doing. The bare minimum. The thing that every bastard parent does in this world. Well, not every parent, but ideally every parent. It's not like you're doing anything marvelous. It's what you should be doing as parents, right? It's the bare minimum, like I said.
And the two things that stood out to me was when the father said that he did not want to work a W-2 job unless he was paying $30 an hour because of the cost of living out there in Oregon. And that it was difficult finding an apartment that was big enough because they want you to make at least 3 times the rent in most apartments. So I found a job on Indeed at Lamakas Laboratories out there in Portland. And the cool thing is that the job's base pay is $31 an hour. No experience necessary. They will train you. You need a high school diploma or a GED. And I know he said he didn't want to work third shift, but they do require you to rotate shifts. I think it was like every 2 to 3 months. And like the first shift is literally from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So like when he's on that shift, he would basically be at work when the kids are in school, and when the kids are out of school, he'll be able to see them. So I know they were complaining about him coming home at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock, not being able to spend enough time with them. Also, like this job has benefits, and I think it was $1,000 sign-on bonus after 6 months of working there. So this meets this criteria of $30 an hour, and the shifts are flexible. They're only 8 hours instead of what he's doing now with his gig work, working 12, 14-hour days or 12-plus-hour days. The next was an apartment. Payne Place has a 2-bedroom apartment that is pet-friendly because they do have animals, and it was $1,700 a month, and the schools were really good. The elementary at least is 8 out of 10. The cool thing about this apartment, they only require 2 times the rent. Pets are allowed. You only need a 500 credit score. So their situation is not completely hopeless. They can do something about it.
So there you go. That's a really good TikTok that essentially proves, and I'm a big believer in this phrase, that if they really wanted to, they would. And they can. And they should. Shout out to Review Boo 2 for making that video, I guess. I don't know what you're doing with your voice. I don't like that. Just use your real voice. There's no harm in it. But cheers for the TikTok. It was really good and insightful. Genuinely.
Look at this. Perfect.
Once again, there's all the proof you need that if they really, really wanted to and put some effort in to get some fucking beds for the house, they could. I think I'm done with this video, guys. I really didn't like recording this one, to be blunt with you, but it's one that I feel needs to go out. For those new to the channel, I'm not usually this serious. I don't want to alienate new viewers or anything. I'm gonna try my damnedest to find a sillier, goofier topic for the next one that I can just have fun with. So you know what? Leave some suggestions in the comments, because I would greatly appreciate that. By the way, the names scrolling past me right now are the names of my beautiful patrons who I can't tell you how much I appreciate them. Without them, the channel would not be able to function as it is right now. But yeah, the thing I don't like about recording this video is that I know upon release, I'm going to be lumped in with so many of the other classist dirtbags who make videos about this topic, like people on TikTok who just want to dog on people in poverty. And as much as you might say they're not out there, fuck me, I've had so much experience with people like that in my life. So just to make it absolutely clear, being poor does not inherently make you a neglectful parent or a neglectful family or a bad family to be a part of, because most people are only a couple paychecks away from being poor. So bear that in mind if you want to criticize poor families. You could have a well-paying job for a big company with guaranteed benefits and everything is just fucking dandy and peaches and ice cream. And then one day they decide to let you go, or they become bankrupt, or for whatever reason, you don't have the job anymore. Now, for a regular working person, that's okay, because you can find another job. It might take a few months, you might be down in the dumps for a few months, you might have to control your spending for a bit, but with enough hard work and resilience, you can pick yourself back up and hopefully come out the other end better than you came in. But what happens if you're let go from that job and you have a wife who's about to give birth in a matter of weeks? The situation all of a sudden becomes a lot harder to deal with, and that's why you need to have fucking empathy for families like this a lot of the time. Not Notorious Jenkins. They're pricks, for sure, but don't use this as an excuse to just ridicule the concept of poor parents to begin with, because there's nothing to make fun of there. I know so many people and so many kids and so many I grew up with so many families, single fathers a lot of them, single mothers a lot of them, that were so strong and had nothing, but treated their kids incredibly. They would have killed for their children, and despite having nothing in life, they were incredible parents, and they're some of the hardest workers, hardest grafters that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Genuinely. And you know what? I know so many wealthy families who treated their kids like absolute shit, despite having all the resources to give their children the best life possible. Classism is one of the least talked about and most important bits of discrimination out there, and there's so much of it on the internet. The Jenkins family are not neglectful because they're poor. It's the children sleeping on the floor whilst they sleep on the bed. It's the PS5 with no real bedding when, you know, an air mattress costs $20. It's the complete lack of care for previous children that Andrew has. It's the inability to pay child support, not because he doesn't have the money, but because he doesn't want to pay child support. It's the gaming keyboards on the Amazon wish list. It's the refusal to get a real job. It's the exploitation of their children for hundreds of thousands of people to see, with no regard for their digital footprint or how they may feel about these videos when they grow up. It's not their financial situation. And that's all I think I have to say. So, once again, I hope you all enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, be sure to like and subscribe. And, yeah, hopefully the next video will be a lot more jovial, a lot more fun for everyone involved, including me, because if I keep covering topics like this on my channel, then I'm gonna be as fucking depressed as I don't know. Every witty bone in my body is gone. What will I be as depressed as? I'll be as depressed as a vegan who is eating a burger. That's where we're at right now, baby. So yeah, I think that's a good sign that I should end the video. So yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one.